There is a quiet power within you that has been waiting patiently for your permission to rise. It does not shout. It does not compete. It does not beg for validation. It simply waits, like the sun behind the clouds, knowing that its nature is to shine. And the moment you begin to speak blessings upon yourself, you part those clouds. You allow what has always been there to illuminate your life. From the time you were very young, you were taught to measure yourself, to compare, to strive, to look outward for approval. The ego stepped in gently at first, whispering, "You are what others think of you. You are what you achieve. You are what you own. You are what you can prove." And without realizing it, you began speaking subtle curses upon your own being. "I'm not enough. I'm behind. I should be further along. Why can't I be more like them?" These phrases may seem harmless, but they are seeds. And whatever you plant in the soil of your consciousness must grow. Imagine an orange in your hand. If you squeeze that orange, what comes out? Orange juice. Not apple juice, not vinegar, only what was already inside. When life squeezes you, what comes out is what you have been filling yourself with. If you have been filling your inner world with self-criticism, fear, resentment, and doubt, then that is what will spill into your relationships, your health, your work. But if you begin to fill yourself with blessings, gentle, powerful, intentional words of truth, then when the pressures of life come, what flows out will be compassion, confidence, clarity, and love. Speaking blessings upon yourself is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is remembering who you truly are. You are not a temporary body struggling for significance in a chaotic world. You are a divine expression of infinite intelligence, temporarily housed in form. You are the ocean expressing itself as a wave. The wave may rise and fall, but the ocean remains vast and undisturbed. When you identify only with the wave, its height, its speed, its comparison to other waves, you live in fear. When you remember you are the ocean, you live in peace. The ego fears blessings. It says, if you praise yourself, you will become complacent. If you believe in yourself, you will be disappointed. If you expect abundance, you will be proven wrong. The ego survives on scarcity. It thrives on the idea that there is not enough love, not enough success, not enough security. But the soul knows something different. The soul knows that you are connected to a source that is inexhaustible. Infinite love cannot be depleted. Infinite creativity cannot run dry. Infinite guidance does not take vacations. When you wake up in the morning and before your feet touch the floor, you whisper to yourself, "I am blessed. I am guided. I am worthy. I am aligned with the highest good." You are not engaging in fantasy. You are choosing which frequency to tune into. Just as a radio can receive countless stations, your consciousness can receive countless narratives. The world may broadcast fear, urgency, and comparison, but you do not have to tune in. You can select a different station. You can speak your own broadcast. Words are not empty sounds. They are vibrations. They carry intention, and intention is creative power. The universe responds not to what you wish for silently while doubting, but to what you declare with conviction. When you speak blessings upon yourself, you are not convincing an external deity to favor you. You are activating the divine presence within you. You are saying, "I recognize the sacred in myself. I choose to align with it." Consider the sky. Clouds may pass through it dark, heavy, turbulent clouds, but the sky itself is never damaged. It remains vast, open, untouched. Your thoughts and emotions are like those clouds. Self-doubt may drift in. Old shame may reappear. Fear of failure may thunder overhead. But the awareness observing those clouds, the consciousness that notices them, is clear and spacious. When you speak blessings upon yourself, you are identifying with the sky rather than the storm. You may say, "But I have made mistakes, I have failed, I have hurt others. How can I bless myself?" The ego equates blessing with perfection. The soul understands blessing as recognition. You are blessing the divine essence within you, not the temporary behaviors shaped by fear. When a child falls while learning to walk, do you curse the child or do you encourage them? You say, "You're doing beautifully, try again." Why then do you withhold that same compassion from yourself? Every time you replay a past regret and label yourself as foolish or inadequate, you are squeezing that orange of self-judgment and drinking from it again. You are reinforcing an identity rooted in limitation. But the past is a memory, not a prison. It has no power except the power you grant it through your interpretation. You can reinterpret. You can say, that experience shaped me, it taught me, it refined me. And in doing so, you transform pain into wisdom. To speak blessings upon yourself is to forgive yourself. It is to say, I release the need to be who I was. I allow myself to become who I am meant to be. Forgiveness is not an endorsement of past behavior. It is a refusal to chain your present to your past. It is stepping out of the courtroom of the ego where you are both prosecutor and defendant and walking into the sanctuary of the soul where only love presides. Notice how you speak to yourself when you make a mistake. Notice the tone. Is it harsh? Is it impatient? Would you speak that way to someone you deeply love? If not, then why do you accept it as normal within your own mind? The relationship you have with yourself sets the standard for every other relationship in your life. When you speak blessings inwardly, you cultivate an inner atmosphere of kindness, and from that atmosphere, your outer world begins to shift. There is a principle in metaphysics that what you focus on expands. If you focus on your perceived shortcomings, they will loom larger in your awareness. If you focus on your inherent divinity, that too will expand. You are not ignoring reality when you bless yourself. You are choosing which aspect of reality to energize. You are choosing to water the seeds of possibility rather than the weeds of self-condemnation. Say to yourself, I am enough. Not because you have achieved everything on your list, not because others have validated you, but because your existence itself is evidence of divine intention. The same intelligence that orchestrates galaxies and synchronizes seasons beats your heart without your conscious effort. Do you think such intelligence would create something inherently flawed? The ego says, prove your worth. The soul says, you are worthy because you are. When you speak blessings upon yourself, you begin to notice subtle changes. You walk differently. You listen more openly. You make decisions from clarity rather than desperation. You stop chasing approval because you are anchored in inner acceptance. And paradoxically, as you release the need to be seen as worthy, others begin to reflect your worth back to you. Not because you demanded it, but because you embody it. There is immense freedom in understanding that you are not your achievements and you are not your failures. You are the awareness experiencing them. When you identify with awareness, you cannot be diminished. A wave may crash against rocks, but the ocean remains. A role may end, a job may change, a relationship may dissolve, but the consciousness that witnesses these transitions remains steady. The ego will resist this shift. It will say, if you relax into self-acceptance, you will lose your drive. But consider this, is fear truly the highest motivator, or is inspiration more powerful? When you act from fear of inadequacy, your energy is contracted. When you act from a sense of blessing, your energy is expansive. Which state do you think generates more creativity, more resilience, more joy? Speaking blessings upon yourself is not a one-time event. It is a practice. It is a discipline of attention. Each day presents opportunities to revert to old patterns of self-criticism. Each day also presents opportunities to choose differently. When you catch yourself thinking, I can't do this, pause, breathe. Replace it with, I am guided, I am capable, I am supported. You are not lying to yourself. You are reminding yourself. And as you practice, something profound happens. You begin to trust yourself. Not the ego self that needs to be right, but the deeper self that is aligned with intuition. You begin to sense when a decision resonates with your highest good. You become less reactive and more responsive. You move from forcing outcomes to allowing alignment. Imagine your life as a garden. Every thought is a seed. Every word is water. If you continually water seeds of doubt, you cannot be surprised when doubt blooms. But if you water seeds of gratitude, faith, and self-respect, those qualities will flourish. And gardens do not transform overnight. They require consistent tending. But the beauty that eventually emerges is a reflection of your devotion. You are here not to shrink, but to expand. Not to condemn yourself, but to discover yourself. Not to chase love, but to realize you are love in expression. When you speak blessings upon yourself, you are not inflating the ego, you are dissolving it. Because the ego thrives on comparison, and blessing is rooted in unity. The ego says, I am better than, or I am worse than. The soul says, I am, just I am. Before any label, before any achievement, before any story, I am is the name of the divine presence within you. When you attach words of blessing to I am, you are declaring alignment with that presence. I am peaceful, I am strong, I am guided. These are not mere affirmations, they are declarations of identity. And identity shapes destiny. If you see yourself as broken, you will seek experiences that confirm that identity. If you see yourself as blessed, you will interpret challenges as opportunities for growth rather than proof of inadequacy. The external circumstances may not change immediately, but your relationship to them will. And that shift in perception is the birthplace of freedom. Freedom is not the absence of difficulty, it is the absence of self-rejection in the midst of difficulty. It is knowing that no matter what unfolds, you remain connected to an inner wellspring of strength. It is trusting that even detours are part of a larger design. When you speak blessings upon yourself, you anchor that trust more deeply into your being. So today, make a gentle commitment, not to be perfect, not to eliminate all negative thoughts, but to become aware of the narrative you are living inside. And when that narrative turns harsh or fearful, choose to rewrite it. Choose to speak life rather than limitation. Choose to align with the vast ocean rather than the fleeting wave. You are not here by accident. You are not here to merely survive. You are here to awaken. And awakening begins with how you speak to yourself in the quiet moments when no one else is listening. Those words shape your inner climate. And your inner climate determines the harvest of your life. Bless yourself in the morning. Bless yourself in your struggles. Bless yourself in your growth. Bless yourself in your becoming. Because when you do, you are not changing who you are remembering. And in that remembrance, your life begins to reflect the truth that was always waiting to be claimed. That you are and have always been a radiant expression of the divine, worthy of love, worthy of joy, worthy of a life lived in freedom. Speak blessings upon yourself and watch as your world rearranges itself around the frequency of your own awakened heart. And as you continue this sacred practice, you begin to notice that the voice within you softens. It no longer demands that you rush to become someone else. It no longer insists that fulfillment lives somewhere in the distant future. Instead, it gently invites you into this moment, the only place where life is ever truly lived. There is something profoundly liberating about realizing that you do not have to earn your right to exist. You do not have to negotiate with the universe for your place within it. The trees do not apologize for taking up space in the forest. The stars do not compete for brilliance in the night sky. Each shines according to its nature. And you too are here by divine appointment, not by accident. When you bless yourself, you are stepping into harmony with that appointment. You are saying yes to your own existence. You are releasing the unconscious habit of resisting yourself. So much of human suffering comes not from circumstances, but from this internal resistance, this subtle refusal to accept what is. I should be different. This shouldn't be happening. I should be further along. These quiet arguments with reality create tension in the body, contraction in the heart, confusion in the mind. But what if you allowed what is to simply be? What if you met your present circumstances, not with judgment, but with curiosity? There is wisdom in every experience. Even discomfort carries a message. Even uncertainty is a doorway. When you stop labeling experiences as enemies and begin seeing them as teachers, something extraordinary happens. You reclaim your power. Power does not come from controlling every outcome. It comes from mastering your inner response. It comes from choosing the lens through which you view your life. Two people can walk through the same storm. One sees devastation, the other sees cleansing. The rain itself is neutral. It is the interpretation that shapes the experience. This is why your inner dialogue matters so deeply. It is the architect of your perception, and perception becomes reality in your lived experience. When you speak words of encouragement to yourself, you are not denying challenges, you are reframing them within a larger context of growth and evolution. You are stepping back far enough to see that the puzzle pieces are forming a picture you may not yet fully understand. There is a deep intelligence orchestrating your journey. You may not always recognize its patterns while you are in the midst of them, but later you often look back and realize that what once seemed like a setback was actually redirection. What felt like loss was making space. What appeared as failure was refinement. Life is not random chaos. It is unfolding. The ego insists on certainty. It craves guarantees. It wants a clear map before it takes a step. But the soul moves differently. It trusts the path will reveal itself as you walk it. It knows that clarity often comes through action, not before it. When you bless yourself with trust, you loosen the grip of anxiety. You stop demanding that the future explain itself before it arrives. And what is trust, if not faith in your own connection to something greater? You are not navigating this existence alone. There is an unseen support system available to you at all times. Call it Source. Call it divine intelligence. Call it universal consciousness. The name is less important than the knowing. When you align your thoughts with possibility rather than fear, you open yourself to guidance that cannot be accessed through worry. Worry is a form of prayer for what you do not want. It is repetitive focus on imagined negative outcomes, but you have the capacity to shift that focus. You can choose to envision strength instead of catastrophe. You can choose to imagine solutions instead of problems. And in doing so, you become a conscious participant in shaping your experience. Notice how your body responds when you criticize yourself. It tightens, it contracts, your breath becomes shallow. Now notice what happens when you offer yourself compassion. Your shoulders relax, your breathing deepens, there is space again. Your physical state mirrors your mental state. By blessing yourself, you create internal coherence. Mind and body begin to move in harmony rather than conflict. Harmony is your natural state. You were born aligned with it. Watch a child before conditioning sets in. There is spontaneity, authenticity, joy in simple things. That essence has not disappeared from you. It has only been layered over by expectations and comparisons. When you speak kindly to yourself, you peel back those layers, you return to simplicity. And simplicity is powerful. It frees you from the endless pursuit of more validation, more possessions, more status. The ego equates more with better, but the soul understands that peace does not come from accumulation. It comes from alignment. When your inner world is in order, the outer world loses its ability to dominate your emotional state. This does not mean you withdraw from ambition or goals. It means your goals arise from inspiration rather than insecurity. You create not to prove, but to express. You strive not to outrun inadequacy, but to explore your potential. The energy behind your actions shifts, and that shift changes the quality of everything you produce. You begin to attract different experiences when your self-concept evolves. Not because the universe is playing favorites, but because your vibration has changed. Like energy resonates with like energy. When you carry yourself with quiet self-respect, you draw people who respect you. When you radiate calm confidence, opportunities align that match that frequency. This is not mystical fantasy, it is resonance. Every thought has a tone, every belief carries a signal, and the field of life responds to that signal. If you constantly broadcast doubt, you will notice evidence that confirms it. If you broadcast assurance, you will perceive possibilities that were previously invisible to you. Your task is not to force the world to treat you differently. Your task is to treat yourself differently. The external rearranges itself in response to the internal. That is the true order of creation. Change does not begin out there. It begins in the quiet chambers of your awareness. You may encounter moments when old patterns attempt to resurface. A familiar wave of self-doubt, a reflex of comparison. When that happens, do not scold yourself for regressing. Simply observe. Awareness itself is transformative. When you notice a pattern without attaching shame to it, you weaken its hold. You create space between stimulus and response. In that space lies freedom. And freedom is not granted by circumstances. It is cultivated within consciousness. The moment you realize you are not obligated to believe every thought that passes through your mind, you reclaim authority over your experience. Thoughts are visitors. You are the host. You decide which ones may stay. So choose thoughts that nourish you. Choose narratives that empower you. Choose interpretations that expand rather than contract your spirit. This is not naivete, it is mastery. It is recognizing that while you may not control every event, you always retain sovereignty over your inner landscape. Imagine standing before a mirror and instead of searching for flaws, you look into your own eyes and acknowledge the journey you have traveled. the resilience, the lessons, the courage it has taken to be here now. You begin to see yourself not as a collection of imperfections, but as a living testament to growth. That recognition transforms how you move through the world. You stop apologizing for your presence. You speak your truth more clearly. You set boundaries not from anger, but from self-honoring. You release relationships that require you to shrink. You embrace those that celebrate your authenticity. And gradually, almost imperceptibly, you begin to experience a deeper joy. Not the fleeting excitement of external achievements, but a steady undercurrent of contentment, a knowing that you are aligned, a sense that even when life is complex, you remain centered. This is the ripple effect of blessing yourself. It extends beyond your own experience. When you embody self-compassion, you model it for others. When you speak gently to yourself, you become more patient with those around you. The energy you cultivate within radiates outward. You become a quiet invitation for others to do the same. There is a collective healing that begins with individual transformation. Every person who chooses self-respect over self-rejection contributes to a more conscious world. You are not separate from humanity, you are an expression of it. Your inner peace influences the greater whole in ways you may never fully measure. So continue speaking life into your own heart. Continue affirming your connection to the infinite. Continue choosing trust over fear, curiosity over judgment, presence over regret. This is not about perfection, it is about practice. Each day is another opportunity to align more deeply with who you truly are. And as you walk this path, remember that you are both the sculptor and the sculpture. Every thought chisels, every word shapes. Speak blessings upon yourself, and you shape a life rooted not in scarcity, but in sacred abundance. And as you continue to walk this inward path, something within you begins to glow with a quiet certainty. Not the loud certainty of the ego that needs to announce itself, but the steady knowing that arises from alignment. You begin to feel at home within your own being. You no longer search for permission to shine. You simply shine because it is your nature to do so. There comes a moment in every awakening when you realize that the life you have been waiting for is not somewhere ahead of you, it is responding to you now. The universe is not withholding your blessings. It is mirroring your vibration. And when you bless yourself, when you honor your own sacred worth, you send out a signal that says, I am ready to live as who I truly am. You stop chasing, you stop pleading, you stop negotiating with your own value. Instead, you stand in quiet reverence for the miracle of your existence. You begin to see that every breath is evidence of grace. Every heartbeat is confirmation that something infinitely intelligent sustains you moment by moment. You are not self-created. You are life expressing itself as you. And how could life itself be unworthy? The mind may attempt to resurrect old stories, narratives of comparison, of inadequacy, of regret, but now you see them differently. They are echoes, not truths. They are habits, not identities. You watch them pass like distant clouds moving across a vast horizon, and you remain the horizon itself, steady, expansive, untouched. This is the shift. This is the remembrance. You are not the wounded character in a fragile story. You are the awareness in which the story unfolds. And awareness is never broken. It is never diminished. It is the silent witness of all experience, and it is whole by its very nature. When you speak blessings upon yourself, you are aligning with that wholeness. You are dissolving the illusion that you must fix yourself before you can love yourself. You are stepping out of the endless self-improvement project and into self-acceptance. And from that acceptance, true growth flows naturally, effortlessly, without force. There is such freedom in no longer arguing with your own humanity. You allow yourself to feel without labeling your feelings as weakness. You allow yourself to rest without calling it laziness. You allow yourself to evolve without demanding immediate perfection. You begin to treat your life not as a race to be won, but as a sacred unfolding to be witnessed. And in this witnessing, you notice synchronicities, gentle alignments, conversations that arrive at just the right moment, opportunities that seem to meet you halfway. This is not coincidence. This is coherence. When your inner dialogue becomes harmonious, your outer world begins to echo that harmony. You are no longer living in reaction. You are living in intention. Intention is not a rigid plan. It is a direction of energy. It is the quiet declaration that you choose love over fear, expansion over contraction, faith over doubt, And every time you return to that declaration, you strengthen it. Every time you bless yourself in the face of uncertainty, you deepen your trust in the unseen currents guiding you. You begin to understand that you were never meant to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You were meant to participate in it with grace, to contribute your unique light without comparing its brightness to another's. The garden does not require every flower to be identical. Its beauty lies in diversity. And your uniqueness is not an accident, it is essential. There will still be challenges. Seasons will change. Circumstances will shift. But you no longer interpret difficulty as a verdict on your worth. You see it as movement within a greater rhythm. You trust that even endings carry seeds of new beginnings. You trust that even silence holds guidance. And when you forget, because you will forget at times, you return. You return to your breath. You return to the simple truth. I am, before the roles, before the expectations, before the memories. I am is enough. I am is sacred. I am is connected to the same force that spins galaxies and orchestrates the tides. Take a deep breath with me right now. Not the hurried breath of someone chasing the next moment, not the anxious inhale of a mind trying to control outcomes, but the slow, deliberate breath of a soul, remembering something ancient. Feel it. Life is breathing you. You are not managing the breath. The breath is happening. And in that simple realization is a profound truth. There is an intelligence beating your heart, growing your fingernails, moving the tides of the oceans, spinning galaxies in silent perfection. That same intelligence is guiding your life. Relax. Life already knows the way. From the moment you arrived in this physical body, something far greater than your personality has been at work. Before you had a name, before you developed preferences, before you learned the language of comparison and fear, you were pure presence. You were the sky before the clouds appeared. You were the ocean before the waves began to identify themselves as separate. And yet somewhere along the way, the ego whispered a lie. It said, you must control everything. You must compete. You must defend. You must prove. And you began to believe that you were the wave, struggling against other waves, terrified of crashing onto the shore. But what if you are not the wave? What if you are the ocean itself? The wave rises and falls. It appears for a moment, dazzling in the sunlight, and then dissolves back into the vastness. The ego trembles at this idea because it seeks permanence in form. It wants the wave to last forever. It wants recognition, applause, certainty. Yet the ocean is never diminished when a wave disappears. It is simply expressing itself in infinite shapes. In the same way, your life is an expression of an infinite intelligence. Your job is not to force the wave higher. Your job is to remember you are the water. So many of us live in quiet panic. We grip our goals. We strategize every detail. We replay past conversations. We forecast imaginary disasters. We believe that if we do not strain and struggle, everything will collapse. But look at the trees outside your window. They are not straining to grow. They are not competing with the sky. They are rooted. They trust the soil, the rain, the unseen process unfolding beneath the surface. The oak does not envy the pine. The rose does not rush the spring. Nature does not hurry, and yet everything is accomplished. Why do we imagine we are separate from that same divine orchestration? The ego says, if I relax, I will fall behind. The soul whispers, if you relax, you will align. And alignment is far more powerful than effort. When you are aligned with your source, you move with the current of life instead of against it. You stop trying to swim upstream, exhausted and resentful, and you allow yourself to be carried by something wiser than your intellect. This does not mean passivity. It means participation without fear. It means action inspired by trust rather than driven by anxiety. There is a difference between forcing a door open and walking through one that gently swings towards you. Life is constantly presenting doors. Some open easily, others remain closed no matter how hard you push. The ego interprets a closed door as rejection. The soul sees redirection. How many times have you looked back at an event you once called a disaster and realized it was a blessing in disguise? The job you didn't get, the relationship that ended, the plan that collapsed, each one carved a new path you could not see at the time. The mind judged it as failure, but the larger intelligence was rearranging the pieces of your life into a design more aligned with your growth. Life already knew the way, even when you didn't. The problem is not that life is chaotic. It is that we are addicted to certainty. We want guarantees. We want to know how everything will unfold before we take a single step. But faith is not the absence of planning. It is the absence of fear. Faith is knowing that whatever happens, you are supported by something eternal. It is understanding that you are not a fragile accident drifting through randomness. You are a divine creation, participating in a divine plan. Imagine holding an orange in your hand. When you squeeze it, what comes out? Orange juice. Not apple juice, not grape juice. Why? Because that is what was inside. When life squeezes you through pressure, through uncertainty, through loss, what comes out? Anger, bitterness, blame? That is not life's fault. That is what was inside. And the squeezing is not punishment. It is revelation. It shows you where healing is needed. It shows you the places where the ego still believes it is separate and in danger. When you remember that you are the ocean, not the wave, the squeezing changes, pressure becomes purification, challenge becomes invitation. You begin to ask, what is life teaching me? How is this serving my awakening? Instead of resisting what is, you lean into it with curiosity. You trust that even discomfort is part of the choreography. There is a rhythm to existence. Day becomes night. Winter becomes spring. Inhale becomes exhale. Birth becomes death. None of it is a mistake. Yet the ego clings to one side of every duality. It wants perpetual summer, constant success, endless applause. It forgets that without winter, there is no renewal. Without silence, there is no music. Without stillness, there is no clarity. You are not here to control the rhythm. You are here to dance with it. When you stop arguing with reality, something miraculous happens. The energy you once used to resist becomes available for creation. The mind quiets. The heart opens. You begin to feel guided rather than pressured. Synchronicities appear. Conversations align. Opportunities unfold with a sense of effortlessness that once seemed impossible. This is not magic. It is alignment. It is what happens when the wave stops fighting the ocean. The ego fears surrender because it confuses surrender with defeat. But surrender is not giving up. It is giving over. It is releasing the illusion that you must micromanage the universe. It is trusting that the same intelligence that paints sunsets and orchestrates the migration of birds is fully capable of guiding your career, your relationships, your dreams. Do you truly believe you are separate from that intelligence? Or have you simply forgotten? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine the vast sky. Clouds drift across it, some light and wispy, others dark and stormy, but the sky itself remains untouched. It does not cling to the clouds or resist them. It allows them to pass. Your thoughts are like those clouds. Worry drifts in, doubt forms, fear gathers like a storm. And you, identifying with the cloud, panic, but you are not the cloud. You are the sky, vast, unchanged, limitless. When you rest in that awareness, you realize that no external event can define you. Success does not inflate you. Failure does not diminish you. Praise does not complete you. Criticism does not destroy you. You are already complete because your essence is divine. And when you know this, you stop scrambling for validation. You stop chasing outcomes as if they are proof of your worth. Relax. Life already knows the way. Every time you attempt to force an outcome from a place of fear, you step out of alignment. You tighten, you constrict. You shrink into the illusion of separateness. But when you act from inspiration, from that quiet inner knowing, you expand. There is a lightness, a sense that you are being moved rather than pushing. This is the difference between ego-driven ambition and soul-guided intention. Intention is not about controlling details. It is about aligning with qualities. If you set the intention to live in peace, you will be guided toward experiences that teach peace. If you set the intention to embody love, you will encounter situations that invite you to choose love over fear. The path may not look like you expected, but it will always serve your evolution. Consider the seed planted deep within the earth. In darkness, it breaks open. From the perspective of the seed, this breaking might feel like death, yet it is the beginning of growth. You, too, have experienced moments when everything seemed to be falling apart. Perhaps it was not falling apart. Perhaps it was breaking open. Perhaps life was creating space for something greater to emerge. The ego resists breaking open because it thrives on familiarity. It would rather remain in a small, known prison than step into vast uncertainty. But the soul longs for expansion. It longs to express its infinite nature through you. And when you cling to the old, you block the new. When you insist on controlling the script, you miss the improvisation of grace. There is a deep intelligence within you that always knows the next step. Not 10 steps ahead, not the entire map, just the next step. And that is all you ever need. The mind demands the whole staircase before it takes a step. The heart needs only the next stone illuminated. When you listen to that quiet inner voice, you are guided with precision. It may tell you to rest when the world says hustle. It may tell you to speak when fear says stay silent. It may tell you to let go when attachment screams hold on. Trust it. Trust that the discomfort you feel is not evidence of failure, but evidence of growth. Trust that the delays are not punishments, but preparations. Trust that even the endings are sacred. For every ending clears space for a beginning aligned with who you are becoming. You are not here to survive life. You are here to participate in its unfolding with awareness. When you shift from control to trust, from fear to faith, from ego to essence, something extraordinary happens. You experience freedom. Not freedom from circumstances, but freedom within them. You realize that peace is not found in arranging the world to your liking. Peace is found in aligning with the deeper current that flows beneath appearances. Imagine floating on your back in a calm sea. If you thrash and panic, you exhaust yourself. If you relax, the water holds you effortlessly. Life is like that. When you trust, you are held. When you fight, you sink into anxiety. The choice is not about controlling the ocean. It is about choosing your posture within it. I am not suggesting that challenges will disappear. Storms will come. Waves will rise. But when you know you are the ocean, the storm does not define you. It passes through you. And afterward, you remain vast, undisturbed at your core. Say to yourself quietly, I am guided. I am supported. I am exactly where I need to be. Feel the resonance of those words. They are not empty affirmations. They are reminders of truth. When you declare I am, you speak from the same creative power that brought the universe into being. You align with the source of all existence, and from that place, fear dissolves. The more you relax into trust, the more you notice that life is not happening to you, it is happening through you. You are both the instrument and the musician. The melody of your life is being composed in real time, and your role is to allow it to flow without insisting it sound a certain way. When you stop criticizing the notes, you begin to appreciate the symphony. There is no rush. The oak tree does not become mighty overnight. The river does not reach the ocean in a single leap. Everything unfolds in divine timing. Impatience is a signal that the ego is demanding immediate gratification. Patience is the soul's understanding that growth is invisible before it becomes visible. Relax. Life already knows the way. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to eliminate every uncertainty. You do not need to fix every imperfection. You need only to remain connected to the awareness that you are more than your thoughts, more than your fears, more than your temporary circumstances. You are an eternal being having a human experience, and that experience is designed for expansion. When you wake each morning, instead of asking, what do I have to control today? Ask, how can I align today? Instead of saying, what if things go wrong? Say, what if everything is unfolding perfectly for my highest good? Feel the shift in energy. Feel the spaciousness that enters your body. That is the difference between ego and essence. In the end, you will see that every twist in your path was purposeful. Every detour led to a deeper understanding of who you truly are. Every challenge refined your character. And the moments you thought you were lost were the moments you were being led. So release the tight grip. Soften your shoulders. Let your breath deepen. The universe is not confused about your destiny. The same intelligence that moves the stars is moving you. You are not behind. You are not off track. You are not forgotten. You are carried. And when you remember this, when you truly embody it, a profound calm settles into your being. You move through the world with quiet confidence. You act when inspired. You rest when called. You speak from love. You release resentment. You forgive quickly because you understand that holding on to anger is like gripping a hot coal. It only burns you. You trust that every soul you encounter is part of the grand design of your awakening. Relax. Life already knows the way. Let this truth sink into the deepest layers of your consciousness. Let it replace the old narrative of struggle and scarcity. Let it dissolve the illusion that you must fight for your place in the universe. You already belong. You always have. You always will. And as you walk forward from this moment, carry this awareness like a quiet flame within your heart. When doubt arises, return to it. When fear whispers, breathe into it. When uncertainty appears, smile gently and remember, the path is unfolding exactly as it must. You are the ocean. You are the sky. You are the intelligence behind the breath. Trust it. Align with it. Relax into it. Life already knows the way. And as you continue along this sacred journey, there will be moments when the path ahead appears obscured, when the horizon seems wrapped in fog, and your carefully constructed plans dissolve like mist in the morning sun. In those moments, the invitation is not to panic, not to grasp for certainty, but to deepen your listening. For beneath the noise of the world, beneath the chatter of the conditioned mind, there is a current of knowing that has never once been confused about your direction. You were born with an internal compass that does not rely on external approval. It does not spin wildly in the presence of criticism, nor does it inflate under praise. It is calibrated to truth, yet many have been taught to distrust it. We have been conditioned to look outward for permission, to measure our worth by comparison, to seek validation in fleeting applause. And so the compass grows quiet, not because it has failed, but because it is waiting for you to remember its voice. When you begin to honor that inner guidance, something subtle shifts. Decisions are no longer made from fear of missing out or fear of falling behind. They arise from resonance. You feel into a choice rather than calculate it to exhaustion. There is a softness in the body when something aligns, a constriction when it does not. Your body is not merely flesh and bone, it is an instrument of intuition. It speaks in sensation long before the mind formulates language. Consider how a river finds its way around obstacles. It does not argue with the rock. It does not attempt to overpower the mountain. It flows, it curves, it adapts without losing its essence. That is strength without aggression. That is power without force. You, too, possess this capacity. When resistance appears in your life, you can meet it with rigidity or you can meet it with fluidity. The river never doubts that it will reach the sea. It understands that every bend is part of the journey. So often we mistake delay for denial. We assume that if something does not manifest immediately, it must not be meant for us. But what if timing is an act of compassion? What if certain doors remain closed because you are still gathering the wisdom required to walk through them? There are seasons for planting and seasons for harvesting. To demand fruit from a seed that has just been placed in the soil is to misunderstand the rhythm of growth. Within you exists the quiet sanctuary, untouched by circumstance. It is not shaken by market fluctuations, not diminished by relational conflict, not defined by titles or possessions. It is the space of pure awareness. When you rest there, even briefly, you recognize that your essence has never been wounded. Experiences may have left impressions on the personality, but the core of your being remains whole. Healing, then, is not about fixing what is broken. It is about remembering what has always been intact. The ego thrives on narrative. It collects grievances like trophies, rehearses stories of injustice, clings to identities shaped by past pain. Yet these stories, repeated often enough, begin to feel like truth. And still, you have the power to step outside the script. You can observe the story without becoming it. You can witness the memory without reliving the emotion. In that witnessing, freedom emerges. Forgiveness becomes less about excusing behavior and more about liberating yourself from energetic entanglement. To forgive is to declare that your peace is more valuable than your resentment. It is to release the illusion that holding on to anger will somehow restore balance. The past exists only as a thought in the present moment. And in this moment, you are free to choose a different interpretation, a different response, a different identity. Imagine standing before a mirror that reflects not your physical form, but your beliefs. What would you see? Would you see limitation or possibility, scarcity or abundance? If you have been gazing into a mirror of doubt, you may have forgotten that you are the one holding it. You can tilt it toward faith. You can polish it with gratitude. The reflection changes when the perception shifts. Gratitude is not a denial of difficulty. It is an acknowledgement of underlying grace. Even in the midst of challenge, there are threads of support woven through your experience. A lesson learned, a strength discovered, a compassion awakened. When you train your awareness to notice these threads, life begins to feel less like a battleground and more like a classroom designed for your expansion. There is immense power in the simple declaration, I am willing. Willing to grow, willing to release, willing to trust, willing to see differently. Willingness opens doors that force cannot. It softens the rigid edges of expectation and creates space for miracles to enter. And miracles, contrary to popular belief, are not violations of natural law. They are expressions of a higher law operating beyond the limited perception of the ego. When you align with that higher law, synchronicity becomes commonplace. You think of someone and they call. You contemplate a new direction and an unexpected opportunity appears. These are not random coincidences. They are reminders that you are participating in an interconnected field of intelligence. Your thoughts carry energy. Your intentions ripple outward. You are not isolated. You are intricately woven into the fabric of existence. This understanding dissolves loneliness at its root. Even in solitude, you are accompanied by the presence that animates all life. The same force that causes flowers to turn toward the sun resides within your own awareness. You are never outside of it. You cannot fall from its embrace. The feeling of separation is a learned perception, not an ultimate truth. As you deepen into this realization, comparison begins to lose its grip. You no longer measure your journey against another's timeline. You recognize that each soul unfolds uniquely, like distinct notes in a vast symphony. To envy another's melody is to forget the beauty of your own. When you honor your path, you contribute authentically to the whole. There will still be moments of uncertainty. This is part of the human experience. But uncertainty need not equate to fear. It can become a sacred space of potential. When the future is unwritten, possibility is infinite. Instead of filling that space with worst-case scenarios, you can fill it with trust. You can say, I do not see the entire design, but I trust the designer within. And so you move forward, not with reckless abandon, but with quiet confidence. You take inspired steps without demanding immediate proof. You allow relationships to evolve naturally. You release the need to micromanage outcomes. You recognize that control is often a disguised form of insecurity, while trust is an expression of inner strength. Each morning becomes an opportunity to recommit to this alignment. Before the world rushes in with its demands, you center yourself in stillness. You remember that you are a spiritual being engaging in human activity, not a human being occasionally having a spiritual thought. From that remembrance, your actions carry a different quality. They are infused with intention rather than urgency. And as the days unfold, you begin to notice a gentle transformation. Situations that once triggered anxiety now invite curiosity. Interactions that once sparked defensiveness now offer compassion. You respond rather than react. You listen rather than assume. This is the quiet evolution of consciousness. It does not announce itself with fanfare. It reveals itself in subtle shifts of perception. The world may continue its noise, its speed, its endless striving. But within you, there is a sanctuary of calm that cannot be shaken. You carry it into boardrooms and kitchens, into conversations and quiet evenings. It becomes the foundation from which you live rather than a place you visit only in crisis. And in this way, your life becomes less about achieving a distant destination and more about embodying a present truth. You realize that fulfillment is not postponed until some future milestone. It is available now, in this breath, in this awareness, in this gentle surrender to the intelligence that has always been guiding you. So walk forward with a softened heart and an open mind. Let go of the need to choreograph every detail. Allow yourself to be surprised by grace. When confusion arises, pause instead of pushing. When fear whispers, return to your inner stillness. When doubt appears, remember the countless times you were carried through what once seemed impossible. There is a wisdom within you that predates your worries. There is a strength within you that does not depend on circumstance. There is a love within you that requires no external source. Anchor yourself there. And as you do, you will find that life does not demand your constant vigilance. It invites your conscious participation. It does not require your struggle. It welcomes your trust. It does not need you to dominate the current. It asks you to flow with it. Breathe deeply again. Feel the quiet assurance settling into your bones. You are not lost. You are not unsupported. You are not navigating a meaningless maze. You are unfolding precisely as you are meant to unfold. And in that unfolding, there is a quiet perfection. And as you stand here in this awareness, something within you grows still. Not the stillness of emptiness, but the stillness of deep knowing. The kind of knowing that does not need evidence. The kind of knowing that feels like home. You begin to sense that nothing in your life has been accidental. Not the detours, not the heartbreaks, not the long nights of questioning. Each experience has been a brushstroke on the canvas of your awakening. What once felt like chaos now reveals itself as choreography. What once felt like loss now reveals itself as refinement. You are not becoming whole. You are remembering that you have always been whole. The striving softens. The urgency dissolves. You no longer chase the horizon because you realize the horizon moves with you. The fulfillment you sought in distant achievements begins to glow quietly from within. It was never waiting at the finish line. It was waiting in your recognition. There is a profound gentleness available to you now. A way of walking through the world without armor, a way of speaking without defense, a way of loving without bargaining. When you trust the intelligence that breathes you, you no longer feel compelled to prove yourself to anyone. You understand that a rose does not struggle to justify its fragrance. It simply blooms. And so you bloom. You bloom in uncertainty. You bloom in transition. You bloom even in the presence of unanswered questions, because your blooming is not dependent on perfect conditions. It is an expression of your essence. You are life expressing itself as you, and life does not hesitate. Feel the quiet miracle of your own existence, the heart beating without your command, the lungs rising and falling in sacred rhythm, the awareness reading these words, all of it guided by something vast and benevolent. You are not separate from that vastness. You are a unique expression of it. Let this realization settle deeply. You are supported in ways you cannot always see. You are guided in ways you may not always understand, and you are loved by the very force that holds galaxies in place. Release the final remnants of resistance. Let the shoulders drop. Let the breath lengthen. Let the mind rest from its constant calculations. There is nothing you must solve in this moment. There is nowhere else you must be. This moment is complete, and so are you within it. Trust the unfolding. Trust the quiet nudges of your heart. Trust the invisible current moving beneath appearances. You are not walking alone. You have never walked alone. The path rises to meet your feet with each step, even when you cannot see beyond the next few inches of light. And as you move forward from here, carry this gentle certainty. You do not have to force the river. You do not have to command the sunrise. You do not have to control the turning of the seasons. Relax. The wisdom that created the stars is guiding your life with the same precision, and it has always known the way.